After that, I think I became appointed to a lighthouse, became an assistant keeper. Must have been then, and I went to the Pembrokeshire coast to the South Bishop Lighthouse. Very lonely place that. It wasn't a tower, but it was on a huge lump of rock, and the tower and the bungalow, the engine room, was all perched on top of the pinnacle.
Bardsey to South Bishop. Did a spell there. Yeah. I did a month with the two keepers, who then went on leave, leaving me, an SAK, with a month's knowledge of the place. The relief, another keeper came on who'd been appointed there, hadn't got a clue, he didn't know anything about Hornsby engines, and another SAK likewise. So I suddenly found myself as an SAK trying to train these other two in the use of Hornsby engines. So this is where Skipper Mundy's thorough grounding in Hornsby engines came in very, very useful. Especially during the reliefs, because you had to be a dab hand on the levers when it came to getting the stores aboard.
That's because it was brought on by like a winch, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Winch operated hoist. You couldn't see the hook when you sent it out because it went out so far, and then down the cliff out of sight to the cutting at the bottom of the cliff where the launch was bobbing up and down 6, 8, 9 feet depending on the weather. It's quite complicated really, because I had the job of actually being in the winch room, twiddling the levers. There'd be a chap standing on the edge of the gantry. His job was to unhook the gear as it came onto the gantry, and also relay signals from the other keeper who was standing on the top of the cliff, acting as banksman. So a crafty keeper, wanting to know where the whereabouts of the hook was when it was out of sight, would paint the hawsers on the drum with paint so he could look at it and it'd give him an indication of where the hook was in relation to where the launch was bobbing up and down. So once you got the hang of it, it wasn't much of a problem. Oh yeah, emptying the toilet bucket on South Bishop. Yes, when I was there as an AK and they went on home on relief, you'd find when it was your turn to empty the toilet bucket, they'd chucked half a dozen bricks in it to make it heavy, you see, because you had to cart this thing to the cliff somewhere and chuck it over the side. So that was a sort of the earthy humour they had. And this fella Graham Fern, I'm sure I followed him round on various lighthouses. He denies it, of course, but I know I did. Same as he denies pinching some of my articles written for inclusion in Lamp, which he also denies. And I read his articles in Lamp sometimes and I have to screw mine up and throw them away.
I was at South Bishop years ago. I was off the Welsh coast, and we had a PK there. No names, no pack drill. And I noticed that in the pantry during the month there would grow a long line of empty evaporated milk tins. And you know, with evaporated milk, when you use it, you used to punch two little holes, one for the milk to come out, one for the air to go in. And I noticed that over the two little holes there was a little metal plate soldered on, you see, so it was airtight. And I used to watch this row of tins grow, you see. And the PK, when I went ashore, the PK had another month to do before he went ashore. And when I came back, I noticed all these tins had disappeared. So I said to one of the other keepers one day, "What's all these tins that keep appearing? All soldered up and made airtight, and then they all disappear again." "Ah," he said, "these are the PK's lifesavers." So I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, he doesn't trust Buddy Finch life jackets or anything like that, so, or any other posh life jacket. So on relief day, the last thing he does, he stuffs all his pockets with these tins, so that when he goes down into the boat, into the motor launch in the landing, before he goes over to the tender, if it sinks, he's going to float with all these milk tins. And then when he gets on board, he throws them all over the side." Can't believe it, can you really? Oh, is that what you mean, Lighthouse?
Yes, exactly what I mean.
And this same lighthouse keeper, this same old PK, was a big smoker. And I also noticed that in the lantern there was always an old cocoa tin full of cigarette ends, and there was another one in the engine room where the foxing equipment was. And I said one day, "Who is this person who keeps these tins of dirty, filthy fag ends in the lantern and in the engine room?" I said, "They're quite revolting. Don't touch those, boys. They're my lifesavers. When I'm all smoked up and overdue, they're what I go for." Oh, I can tell you a story talking about smoking. I was off on a lighthouse, and this super who we'd had for a month had to stop another month, and he sent his food order in and they forgot to send his tobacco, so he was virtually smoked up and he had a month to go. So it was suggested he could smoke tea. So he started smoking tea, you see. Foul smelling stuff. Anyway, after about a week or so, I called him for watch one night, and I had the kettle boiling, made the tea, and he guzzled about 3 cups of tea in just about as many minutes. And I said, so-and-so, I said, "You're thirsty tonight, aren't you?" He said, No, I'm not thirsty." He said, "I just want to smoke." And he said, "If I smoke all my tea, I shan't have any tea left." So he said, "I'll make the tea first." He said, "I'm going to dry all these leaves in the oven, and then I shall use them for smoking." Oh dear, what a good yarn. Anything. I wouldn't advise you to smoke tea leaves.
And then I went to South Bishop with Ivor Pritchard, and the first night I was there was a very misty night, and at South Bishop they had these lamps that they used to shine onto the tower, because of course October were in the migration time still for the birds, and it was quite horrendous that first night for the sheer quantity of birds that were bashing into the tower. The whole air was thick with these birds, just like I'd heard about in nature programmes and such like. And in the morning, of course, corpses all over the place, bird corpses everywhere. So these floodlights, I suppose it saved a lot of the birds, but there's the door just slammed again. Yeah, it was rather tragic, rather sad, all these birds got bumped off. Now, South Bishop itself, I did like that, because we're getting such a variety of lighthouses from places like the Smalls to Skerries.
Right, that's the door down there we came up through from the lounge. Turn left now. There's the tower. We go down down first. Another window up here. It's looking rough out there today. That's the steel tube that goes right up to the top. There's a radio beacon. Another helicopter load of stuff arriving. And a window to the outside world. That's that weight tube that goes up the tower with the door open. Inside there would be a weight hanging down. That would slowly unwind and drive the mechanism up top. When it got near the bottom, it would ring a bell and the keeper would have to wind the thing back up again. Okay, back up. Turn around. That's where we've just been. Now we're going up into the tower. Freezer. The rest of the tube. And up we go. Another window coming on our left. Let's have a look in the fuel tanks. Nearly at the top, just there. Just have a look down. There's little pulleys there for that weight I was on about. Goes down the tube. And here we are. That's the gate we just came through. And the steps. Another flight there going up into the lens proper. So the lens is above us on this wire gantry. And we're in the little service room just below it. Glazing sheets there in case the glass on the outside of the lens breaks. Controls for the main light. And that's the drive motors underneath it. Okay, up the next flight. There's the little door going out to the gallery. And we're up this bit here. With a little lens. That's the flight we just came up. Here we are in this great big lens with this, or great big lens room with this tiny little lens. So this obviously isn't the original. Looks like a fog detector stuck through the glazing. There's the grating floor. It's too rough to go out in the gallery today. That was the old helipad down there. Now coming around to the quarters. There's the roof and chimney down there, and the new helipad behind. There's some of the islands. Ramsey over there. Mainland Wales over the back. Back down towards the helipad. That's more of the underslung loads just coming for the grip blasting at the station. Lots of work going on here.